open it up for a moment. So I don't know, Nelson, if you want to put on a mic or just have people shout out. I don't know how you want to do it. I know you've been recording some of these. So
there's probably a mic up there.
yeah, I looked. I double checked. So I just want to open it up here briefly, and it could be anything because we covered a lot with these 3 questions. But what showed up? Is there any aha moments, or to make you realize something about the WOW client? Yeah, Jim. And then we'll go there.
I need to get to know my WOW client even better, because I want to wow her as much as she's wowed me.
Right. That's it. Yeah, it's greatly noticed. Many times we have these WOW clients there, and we really don't know enough. There's a gentleman there in the back. And same thing. Don't know enough. Okay, so we got you running over here. All right.
He likes to run.
Okay. I'll run right here instead.
I would say the correlation between the revenue impact of that person, like my WOW client had 5 different companies, and I was literally their advisor in 5 different companies. So it's like I always wanted him to get new jobs every couple of years because I picked up a new client, right? So it's like that one client was millions of dollars of revenue.
It's so beautiful. Yeah, it's such an impact, and that's why when we focus on a few of those, it's so much greater than dealing with the smaller clients that it might be a big pain. So
and it was easy to work with.
Right, because you're excited. Yeah. It's so much easier. Yeah, it was a hand there, and I think I saw one that way too. Thank you for sharing.
I just realized, my WOW clients, they value what I value, and they think the way that I do in their business, even though we're in different businesses and different industries. They're innovators and creative thinkers, and they think and value the same things that I do. So you're looking for people that are like you.
That's exactly true. I want to make a point. I had a woman that did not have any WOW clients in an audience that I spoke in, and then she was telling me she's going to all the industry events and doing all these things, and it wasn't working. She's grinding, and I said, well, what do you like? She said, you mean like in my life? I'm like, yeah, in your life. She said, wine and golf. I like wine and I like golf. And I said, great, go to as many golf tournaments as you can. And her industry, it worked that she was going to meet people there. So I said, go to as many golf tournaments as you can and go to wine events. And she, in 90 days, I kid you not, she doubled her business. Because finding the people that you want to work with is when you're connected. That's the first thing. We always talk about building rapport. It's really easy to build rapport with people that are amazing, right? It just comes. Yeah, Eric.
So with my WOW client, I've realized I need to hang out with him more. He refers a lot of people to me. He goes to the same social events that I go to. He loves golfing, so I take him out golfing a couple times a year, and every time he's like, hey, we need to do this again, we need to do this again. I usually only end up doing it once or twice a summer. He's constantly asking me, like, hey, let's go out and grab some drinks. And every time I'm with him, he's very well known in the community, and he introduces me to people that we run into. And I'm like, why am I not hanging out with this guy more?
Right.
Because that would make sense, I guess.
Right.
Because it works.
Yeah, it does. And then obviously everything's to a limit, right? I mean, if you spent every day with this gentleman, then it possibly would be too far. But but you're totally right. There's probably a big gap that you could be doing more. Yeah.
So my WOW client wants to invest in our relationship just as much as I do.
Right.
Actually turned in to be in this specific situation. He's a mentor of mine, but also while we're sitting in a meeting, he's like, I want you to send every younger, intelligent driver that to me, so I can meet him, I can learn from him. So it's just, we find the same value in the relationship, just it's in different ways because we're at different points in our lives.
Absolutely. Yeah. We'll do one or two. Was there another hand I saw in the black right there and there? So we'll do 2 more and then we'll move forward. Go ahead.
When I was going through what they get, my initial list was very transactional.
Okay.
Short. Yeah. But really, what they get is they get an expanded professional understanding, and they improve their skill set. And I think we take that for granted because a lot of times we're relegated to work with a certain part of the organization. We know we can talk to another one, and the WOW clients are the ones that recognize that they have this blind spot, and so they do want to be educated because it's a career thing for them.
Absolutely. It's emotional. I want to hold on to the mic 1 second, because maybe I'll ask you a question on this. But in the mastermind here, we were over here. That's why I keep pointing over here. When we did it yesterday, and we were talking, many of the people were talking about almost a David and Goliath, right? Like, especially when you're, when you're doing self-funded versus like, the big old beast, right? Then this is is everyone experiencing some of that? Yeah? Yeah? Nodding. The arms stopped working, right? Okay. But I see nods. Okay. So what I want to bring up just briefly here is that it's so important, and the more we're working with our clients, the more time we can have to nurture them. And I told the story, I think it's really important for all of you to hear, is that one time my ad agency was always boutique. Even though we were working with Fortune 100 companies, we still were small, and I won because I was small. Many times because I was small. So here's one instance. I was in Dallas. I'm at $1 billion company, and there's another agency there. And somehow the meetings got screwed up, and we both showed up at the same time. They were even there before I got there. I showed up by myself. There was more people in the lobby than I had on my entire staff, right, from their company. It was $1 billion agency that was bidding for $1 billion company, and I was not that. They had boards, and they're like practicing, and they're going to do a whole show for the chief marketing officer. And my meeting was actually at the correct time. I don't know what happened, but anyway, I went in, and they were like super mad. And they're like talking to the receptionist, what the hell's going on? And anyway, I went in with my briefcase, and I just went in, and he said, plug your laptop in, and he was looking at his phone, and I said, actually, I'm not going to plug in just yet. And he said, oh, what, you don't have anything to show? About to kick me out of the office. And then I said, well, I really need to know what's going on here. I have a lot to show you, but I need to know what's going on and where you want to go so that I can see, one, if I'm the right guy to help you, and two, how am I going to help you? And then I'm going to show you something that's important. And in that meeting, I went really deep. And this is why I'm pointing this out with what Brian said, is a lot of times we think about the finances, or like, I'm going to close this deal or that deal. But the reality is, when we actually connect with another human being and find out what's really going on, because I read a book when I was really young, because I was always trying to learn about sales, because when you're making movies, you got to sell it. When you're doing your job, you got to sell it. Like, I think everyone should be in somewhat of sales. Even teaching your kids to eat broccoli, right? That's sales, right? it happens, right? So, and any one of you that have a partner right now, you already did sales too. You closed that deal, right? So we all do this, but what a lot of us lack is the ability to go deep. So in that meeting, I went so deep that man, and my team laughs at me, because one time on stage I said, this guy was a man dude. A man dude. And they were going to print t-shirts soon and say, man dude. So this guy is super cowboy Dallas guy, and he actually shed a tear inside that meeting, because the reality is, that's what I was going to talk about, that book. It said, B to C is emotional, B to B is logical. And I disagree. I don't recommend that book. I only bring it up because it's actually a fallacy. Like, what more emotion is there if you make a decision and you can get fired because you made a decision for the company, right? And then if it goes sour, you're going to lose it, and all the emotion that goes along with that. Or if you really do care about your staff, which hopefully everyone does, some people do more than others, but I hope they care more. But then they're making a decision, especially in a lot of your cases, for all their team, right? So how much emotional is that, right? So when I look at this, and I always go deep, and in that depth, I made a friend with him, and he did move to another company, and I did get to move with him, right? And so I've worked with him too. I've had other clients that worked at 4 different businesses, and they just keep going because you build those relationships. So I want to encourage you all to go deeper in everything that you do, like asking deeper questions and not being afraid to go into those depths. That's what I'm going to talk about next. Because remember I said find your wow client, then ask them what they want. And that's where we have to go deep. So we'll do one more. The one in the black there. It was the one that I was talking about was B to C is emotional, B to B is logical. And I'm saying don't read that. But if you really want to do that, I shouldn't say it out loud. There was some book that has some title. But the reality is, it's not all numbers. It's not all numbers. It's not all numbers. If we go into all logic, then you're going to lose more sales.
I was just going to say, of our WOW clients, we've got a lot of hospital clients, and it's interesting because our team will go into the one, so our WOW client, he runs a hospital, and he runs it exceptionally well. And so I think, when I'm in that client, if I was gonna stroke out, I would wanna stroke out here, because I'm gonna be taken care of. And there's a lot of clients that we don't have that are that way. I would not wanna, I hope to God nothing happens. I hope I don't break an elbow in this particular client side. So I think with our clients, if we can respect what they do what they do well, and I do what I do well, and we're a good match.
That's it. Yeah, because it's the worst. Like I refuse to work with people that are doing things that I don't agree with in the world. I won't do it anymore. Like some of my other speaker friends, they'll go speak on stages of major corporations that I don't agree with how they're doing things, and I'll say no. I know what I teach helps people grow, so why would I want to grow something that's dark and bad, right? I'm serious, right? I put my energy towards the light. And that's what I do. I don't fight, I don't resist. You hear a lot about there's a lot of stuff going on right now, and we could talk about a lot of things, and we're not going to go there. I just want to encourage you all to go towards the light, because if we put our attention on the darkness, then we're actually illuminating it more. Why don't you if you just move towards what you want, and the computer says yes. See? Now, one other comment on this, and then I've got to show you a couple more things, but this exercise, I encourage you to bring to your staff. I'm going to tell you how I break it down and how I use it to find my WOW clients right now. So the first thing I want to say is, though, with staff, I was working with $1 million holistic veterinary clinic. This vet is in California, and he's like pretty renowned, and he would actually find times that he couldn't save the animals. So he started doing research about chiropractic, acupuncture, swimming pools. He's got $1 million pool that's all glass, and you can swim horses in it to help them rehabilitate. Crazy stuff. And then they were suffering. Like his other clinic was going cash cow, and then he invested tons of his money in this holistic clinic, and it wasn't going so well. We did this exercise. We didn't change any of his pricing. We didn't change any of the things. I didn't even touch the website yet. All we did was do this exercise. And what we found was, when you got to question number 2, I don't know how many of you this affected you, but how would they be affected if they didn't work with you? How many of you did it hit your emotions a little bit? You're like, oh my gosh. Right? Yes? Are you guys with me still? Mm-hmm. We're here? Yes? Okay. Go to check. I'm pushing you a little bit to put your arms up. We'll do some rotator cuff exercises.
Yeah, backstroke.
So the thing that in this moment, the staff, it was expensive to go to the holistic clinic. And every time they quoted a price over the phone, they were saying, I'm sorry, without saying it. It was inside. They're like, oh, it's this much. Like you could feel the energy coming off them. When we did this exercise and they realized they were going to be saving people's animals, people's horses, they invested tons of money in, even if it was their cat or dog, even if it was, that was their child. For many of us, our pets are part of our family, right? And so when they actually put that, what they would have lost, into the perspective, sales went up without changing anything. It changed the emotion that was behind it. And also think about it, if you were making sales calls and you're a little reluctant to make your calls, imagine reading one of these before you make your calls. How many of you would your call be a little bit easier? Right? Or a lot a bit easier, right? I have a client that owns a woman boutique in the Bohemian style in Orange County, Southern California, and they have WOW client journals under the register. And when any of their staff has a WOW client moment, they write it down. And they do this exercise, go through the questions, and then before they open the store, they read a WOW client story before they unlock the door, and they remind themselves why they're here.
I like that.
It's huge, yeah. And so how I use this so that I can find more WOW clients is I use it to give clues. What I want you to do, and this goes on how many WOW clients you have, but I'd like you to find 6 to 12 WOW clients, or as many as you can accumulate these. But look, we did that in 90 seconds, right? Each writing exercise. I encourage you not to go more than 3. Some of you might have thought that was too fast, maybe you thought it was just right, but somewhere between 90 seconds and 3 minutes, what I want you to do is you do this exercise. So at 3 minutes for each of those questions, then that gives you a 10-minute exercise, right? So for the next 10 days, if you take 10 minutes in the morning and write out one WOW client, then you're going to have 10 of these accumulated, right? If you don't like that idea, then just take 2 hours. 1 hour on Monday, 1 hour on Tuesday, and you can write out 6 of these, right? If you just want to do it, if you're the person that wants to do it right away. Now what you do Has everyone got that part? So it's a simple exercise. I'm asking for a couple hours of your time. That's it. And I do this every year, sometimes twice a year. If we see a shift in WOW clients, then we zoom in and we look at it. And these are the questions that I ask myself, and then I go further. I'm going to tell you a few more questions. But just these basic ones that I told you, we find massive clues of where we need to be. So then what happens is you take all their value. So you take, like, you know, let's say you have 10 of these. Let's say you even have 6. I've even seen patterns as little as 3. You start seeing 3 WOW clients, and then you go, wow. Right? What happens? So you look at the value that they all gained, and what did having that do for them, and then you highlight. So if you do it on paper, you lay it all out on the board table, whatever, you highlight the ones. If you're on your computer, you can do word count and check how many words came up the same. And then you do how would they have been affected if they didn't work with you, and you highlight all that. Because knowing that information and saying that out loud in the meeting, that's where things like, look, I worked with this client, they didn't work with me, they would have lost this, they would have lost that. That's just as important as saying they would have gained this. In fact, I think some of the pain points are what makes decisions quicker than the gain. Sometimes we desire something, but when we're in pain, we're running for help. And then the third one is, where are they? Right? I had another real estate story, because I always think this is funny. He had all of his WOW clients had pools. All of them had pools. And then I started talking to the guy, and he's like, he knew everything about pools. He knew which shape pool was easier to clean, like tons of stuff. So he changed all his ads. He said, if you want to buy or sell a home with a pool, I'm your guy. Who else was doing that? And also, just this exercise differentiated him, grew his business. Right? There's so many different things. If ever, I'm making this up, but if all of your WOW clients had a BMW, then I would say go buy a BMW. But knowing what I know now, like having done this for years, you probably already have a BMW. Right? But serious. Like when you find your WOW client, you're like, oh my gosh, it's me. Yes, it's you. You want people in your personality. The hardest thing we do is try to deal with people that are not in our personality. That's fine. And that's even the OW clients. I'm not disrespecting them. I'm not saying that they're, people that are wrong. They're just people that are WOW clients for someone else. And in fact, if you are here in this room, there might be people that can serve your WOW client, and would there be their WOW? Does that make sense? So I want to encourage you to keep doing this and keep looking at the data to see where they are and what are the commonalities. Now, guess what we can do? Start going to those events. You need to know what social media is their preferred one. So many people go on every social media, and that's fine. Yeah, the more channels of like everyone was like another phone line, right? If people call you through Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever, right? If you know all your WOW clients and you don't know, we're going to go ask them. That's what I'm going to teach you next, the last part of this. If they're all on LinkedIn, you should be putting almost all your attention on LinkedIn. Wherever they are, be on that social network. Whatever events they're on, you should be there. What publications do they read? If you find out over and over they're reading a certain publication, that's where you should put your ads. That's where you should get a story written from you. You should submit a story, and hopefully they pick you up. That's where you start thinking. Now it narrows everything down. This is how things explode. So I'm not kidding. When you have all new WOW clients and you put all your focus on it, your business just goes boom, boom, boom. So I'm just going to play a short video so you can see another client of mine, how it's impacted her business.
We started only taking WOW clients, and it was just really nice to say, yes, this is a good fit, or no. And when I said no, it was great because it was another opportunity for us to refer, like, other referral sources. So we were giving back. It was awesome. At that same time, we were losing some clients who were not WOW, and while that was, in some ways scary because we lost the revenue, it was amazing because we lost all this stress. It was so beautiful. By March of 2017, we had already hit our goal, our annual goal for 2017. So since then, we have doubled the income revenue. We have also tripled my personal income, which was really nice.
I focus on personal income too when I come in with clients, because it's not always about the top level revenue. I mean, we all talk about that, but throw out our number. But the reality is, how much money do you get?
Yeah.
I'm serious about freedom. Like, this is my job. I wake up every day to help people have the life that they want. So Mariska, she only worked with WOW clients, which is a transition. Like you heard her say, she was losing clients. But remember I talked about that energy? When you have energy, you only have, can I borrow this book for a second? So, oh, I didn't know there's some papers. If this is the square of energy that you have, because we all have a limit of our energy, and you can grow that through working out, eating healthy, you can do other things to increase your size of this piece of paper. Now, in this piece of paper, it takes up so much energy. So if you have clients in here, they all take up a certain energetic space. When you let them go, many of us hold on to them until we have another client, but the reality is it's so much more important to let that one go and then give space. And a lot of times it won't happen at all because you don't have any space left. And until you let go of that client, you're not going to have the space for the new client. So you have to let go, and it might be scary, but I can tell you, sometimes within a week, I've had clients let go of non-WOW clients, OW clients, and the next week they get the WOW client that they wanted. It was not available before that. So, yeah.
That's a quick question.
Okay.
I have a client that I think may be a WOW client, but they may also be an OW client.
Right?
Top two guys I really love, but my
day-to-day person, every time the phone rings, I do what you just said. I cringe because everything that comes out of her mouth is negative. Just wondering what your thoughts are would be on that.
Yeah, it may be a deal breaker. I usually bring it up right away. I'm like, hey, this isn't working out. I usually go to the person that's the problem right away, and I say, look, this is not how I work. This is how I'd prefer to work, and I actually think we can do better, and give them that chance. And then after that, then what I do is I go, like some people, I've had them say, I've had to do it, like, because my energy is so precious to me. So I would go to the people that are WOW and like, hey, I don't think I can move forward with you. And they're like, what are you talking about? Well, here's the deal. But I try with the person first, so I don't go cut them out right away and be a total ass or something, you know. But I try to make it work, but then if I can't, I am willing to walk away because there's other work out there that we can do our good deeds, and my energy is that important to me. If they're affecting your day and you're going like that, then it's sad too because you know the potential there and you know how much you love them, but it doesn't work. You know, it doesn't work. So
Can't force
yeah,
it.
real quick, and then I do want to get one more thing out before I go.
So Steve, I had a client that I've shared with the group here. It was a bank. I lost it this past January 1. And the president was a wow guy. I loved it. And he was great to me, I thought. His vice president, I answered over 300 emails for her. So this exercise is perfect because it was a wow on the one hand, but definitely an owl on the other.
Yep.
And bye-bye.
That's it. Bye-bye. That's it. Well, no, and it's the person that you're dealing with the most. Right? Remember I said ask the one person. Because both of you have multiple people involved. But when you're doing it, who is the person you're going to be working with? That's what matters. Right? That's what matters. So who are you spending your time with? And if that's not okay, and I have had people, they've gotten fired. It wasn't my intention that they would get fired, but I've had the company like, no, we're not losing you. This person has to get straight or not, and then they try to do it, and then they let him go. Because, and it was better for the company. Like in reality, and typically that doesn't happen for me anymore because I'm working with the CEO. So I mean, and then if the CEO is not fun, then I'm out, you know. But when times when I'm working with a department, then that could happen. That happens a lot less for me because typically I really want to work with the top because what I teach changes the whole company. Right? So, and I know there was going to be more questions, and I'm going to be here all day too, but I do want, with the time that I have, to teach you one more thing that's very important. Remember I said, we have a a little bit more clarity of what I mean by WOW client. Is everyone pretty clear? And I know it's pushing the extremities if you're thinking on this, but I want you to realize and trust. I've done this over and over with billion-dollar companies, smaller companies. It doesn't matter. I've done it with my companies. Every one of my clients, we run this way, and it makes amazing impact. Millions and millions of dollars in impact. And life is so much better. It's way better. Like, I don't even know how I lived before. I'm like, wow, that sucked. And I know I was meant to go through that because I wouldn't be standing up here. If I knew this right at the beginning, I would be like, what are your guys' problems? Like, what are you doing, right? Like, I had to go through it and understand what it can be without this. So, So here's, a couple more quick stories. This woman right here, she's a CPA and a brilliant one out of San Francisco. I mean, like companies from all over help do their financial report, high strategic, like she's a brilliant woman, but she is also loves acting and being a clown, and she wears animal onesies now all the time. Once I told her wow clients, she said, my wow clients, Steve, would be someone that loves animals. She said, she calls it animal accounting now. It's 95% accounting and 5% animals. And then she literally after doing this, she found her wow client, like one of her clients that loves animal onesies. Her clients call in on Zoom, even if they don't need to, with her because they just want to see what animal she is that day. And it's so much fun. Accounting is so boring. She makes it so fun. It's brilliant. She's doing gangbusters. All of our calls, she's still working with me. Everything that we're doing right now is building infrastructure. She's got so much business coming in. The keeping up part is building more infrastructure, hiring more team members, training more team members. She's just going all the way. She never, when she met me, she looked like she was going to die. Just huge circles under her eyes, no time out because the money was coming because she was so good at what she was doing, and she was the main one providing the high-level stuff. The first year she worked with me, she went on holiday 3 times during tax season. She had never taken a holiday during tax season ever before. Last year she went to Africa during tax season. There she is there. She taught orphan children how to make puppets and tell their story and give them hope. She's doing all these cool things, and she wouldn't have been able to do that if she didn't focus on wild clients. And she's gotten really good. And she has even a great story. She turned down a client because they weren't a good fit. And the person thought she had so much integrity that she was willing to give up his money, right? To turn down his money. He referred 3 WOW clients that were WOW clients because she explained what a WOW client was for her. She got 3 paying clients from a no. From her. See, the biggest thing I want you to take away from this moment and what I'm talking about is that I'm not asking people to work with me. I'm not dancing up here, hey, look at me, pick me. I pick my clients, and I'm encouraging you to do the same. We're no longer doing sales. Sales, like the old way of sales, is not working anymore. You look at it over and over and over, right? People go, teach my team how to handle objections. There are no objections. If I ask my client what they want and I can deliver what they want, and I know with integrity that I'm the person, then there's no objections. I don't have objections. It just happens. Really. When people follow the process that I teach, there's no objections. And I'm picking who I work with. I'm interviewing them. The tables are turned.
Absolutely.
And that's the way you should treat your life and your business. I mean, you didn't just walk down and see someone on the street and say, oh, will you marry me? And ask a whole bunch of people until someone said yes. I'm sure it'll work. If you do enough people, maybe you get up to 100 or 150. Someone will probably say yes, right? So the fact is, that's not a good idea. You're going to want to interview them. You're going to know. And this goes, by the way, I won't be able to get into this today, but this goes to WOW team members, WOW staff, everyone, WOW partners, WOW joint ventures. I only do WOW. If we're not connecting, no play. No play. So what if some of you didn't necessarily know enough about your WOW client, right? So then the next thing we have to do is we have to ask them what they want, right? So that's it. So you have WOW clients. The best thing you can do is leave here and say, okay, I heard this speaker at this event I was at last week, and they had me write down my WOW clients.
And you were it.
You were one of them.
Mm-hmm.
You should all be calling your WOW clients, and you should be. This is not like an outsourced survey. It is a survey, but I don't call it surveys, which I'll talk about in a minute. Like, how do I get this information? But the first thing that you can do is call and say, hey, I was looking through my business because I just came out of this conference, a mastermind, so I can do better and I can serve you better. And I was asked to write down my WOW clients, and you were the top of the list, or you were in the top 10, you're one of my top 10, you're a WOW client. In fact, if all my clients were like you, I would be the happiest person on the planet. And I say stuff like this. Now, what do you think happens for them? They're like, oh my gosh, right? Can I hold it till the end? Yeah, so they are like so, it's a huge compliment. And then you can say, hey, is it okay if we schedule a little bit of time where I can ask you a few questions, because I want to, number one, better serve you. Number two, I want to find more people like you, because I'm not joking. I only want to work with people like you. Now they're like even more reinforced. I've never had anyone turn me down. You can even ask Nelson. He was just telling me this morning that he's been doing this with his wild clients, and he started doing it, and he's like, it's just like they're even like, oh my gosh, you just made my day. The client's saying, you made my day. Thank you so much, Nelson. You know, like it is such an honoring thing to have someone say, you're the best person that I work with. And then what I'll do is either schedule the time with them on the phone, like 15, 20 minutes to have, I spend more time with, the wild clients. You got to spend some time with them. And then maybe take them to lunch, say, hey, can I buy you lunch? I just want to do, and maybe I like to sometimes do 20-minute phone call, ask all the questions, so when I'm at lunch, we can just relax. And that's the reward of doing the calls. But if you can't get that, or you're already with them at the table, then go ahead, ask the questions at the lunch or wherever you are, and get as much information that you have. So here's my quick rules about asking questions and surveying. Typically, number one, don't call it a survey. People are sick and tired of surveys, right? Like you get the call, it's like, hey, at the end of this call, we'd like to do a short survey. Press 1.
Yeah, never.
For survey, 2 for no. 2. We're all pressing 2 before it even comes up. Some of them have gotten keen on that and they switched it. 2 is the yes. Like, oh, thank you for taking this. No! Right? We don't want to do surveys. So when I'm talking to customer service, yeah, seriously, I had one, they did that. They switched 2 to the yes. Like, oh, look at those buggers. So, hang up. So the thing that especially, it doesn't matter, like if you're doing customer service, and any one of you are doing this, like when you're talking, keep a record of what questions you ask, and then just ask one question. Can you imagine with your customer service or one of your staff, if you have your CRM, and then in there you have a list of questions, and when they're on the phone with that particular client, then they say, oh, before we get off, can I ask you one question? Most people are going to say, sure, unless they're in a real hurry. But if they say sure, then you ask the question, put the answer in there, and then the next time they call in, you ask the next question. And that's how you actually start to get data. Instead of just getting no, we can actually get surveys done. Whereas before, people had like such a limited amount of yeses, right? So that's the one thing. Don't call it a survey. Just say, if people say, what do you say to them? Just say, can I ask you a question?
They're going to say yeah.
That's it, yeah, especially if it's one question. Now there's a couple more rules. So the next one is short and simple. We've got to keep it short, we've got to keep it simple. Now, the more wow client they are and the more reward you give, which I'll talk about in a minute, then you can go longer. You can go longer, but you've got to give them money, or you've got to give them gifts, or you give them things, or to get their time, you want to give to make that happen. Set something up to where you can have more time. The third thing is open-ended. Now I got to tell a story what this means, open-ended questions. It means not a 1 to 10, right? So I was working with a chiropractor, and I talked to him, and he was doing well, but he wanted to do even better. And I said, well, what's your greatest value? I asked him the question, yeah. He said, pain relief. He said, I've had grandparents that couldn't pick up their grandchild, and I fixed their back, and they were able to pick up their grandchild. He's like, it was so amazing. I've helped people in their relationships because their body hurt so bad they couldn't even have intimacy. They go to get a hug from their partner. He's like, don't touch me, right? And he said, I fixed that. He was so passionate about it. I said, okay, great. What do your patients say? And I said, well, I want to talk to them. I told him the importance of what I'm teaching you. And he said, okay, go ahead, talk to my patients. You'll never guess, and because of my time, I'm just going to tell you, what came back from this chiropractic office over and over and over was on-time appointments. On-time appointments. Now, pain relief showed up, but because I asked open-ended questions where they had to write, I found out information we would have never known. Now I go back to the doctor, I'm like, hey, on-time appointments came up. He's like, I'm shocked, but I'm not shocked. He said, I hate going to the doctor and waiting in the lobby and then waiting in the patient room, and then the doctor comes in sometimes 45 minutes after he said, so I would try to run a tight ship. And then we looked at it, he was like 60+% on time, which is remarkable for a doctor's office. And then I said, well, what if we're 95 or 100% on time? And he said, well, patients would have to be in on that. I said, okay, well, let's keep surveying, right? So every time within the next week, when they booked an appointment, we said, well, it took a couple weeks to implement this. We started asking this when we booked the appointment. Said, you have an appointment at Tuesday at 9:30 in the morning. How would you like to see the doctor right at 9:30? People said, absolutely, that would be great. Great, we just need one thing from you. Just like I asked one thing from you today. We need you to be on time. So here's what we're proposing. If you're 5 minutes or more late, your appointment's canceled. If you know you're going to be late, call ahead. We're going to leave an hour every day to move people into. And if you don't call and you show up at 9:37, we're going to turn you away. And then we said, is that okay with you? And now many people in his clinic said yes. Some said no. They're like, no, that's not okay with me. And then it was okay to let them go.
It's not a good client. Not, yeah.
Because if you don't show up on time, the biggest reason doctors' offices have this problem is because people don't show up on time, right? And then it pushes the next appointment and the next appointment and the next appointment and the next appointment. So he ran an on-time clinic. In fact, that's what he put all over his website, all the things. And after time, it's like on-time appointments. We had billboards in his office at that time. On-time appointments. When they picked up the phone, home of the on-time appointment, it totally changed his whole brand. And then he was the on-time appointment guy. And it worked. Now, see, what I'm talking about, remember I said find your wow client, ask them what they want, give them what they want, then give them what they need? What they needed was pain relief. But because he got them there and he had an on-time appointment, he gave them what they wanted, and then he gave them what they needed. Now, if he was a terrible chiropractor and he didn't help them with their pain relief, it doesn't matter how on time the appointment is, no one would have went there. A simple rule in marketing that's often forgot is you put what they need in the box and you wrap it with what they want. Put what they need in the box and wrap it with what they want. So we wrapped the whole thing with on-time appointments, but inside the box was all the pain relief that they wanted. I worked with a financial planner in San Francisco, and he had a parking lot, and it came back. Everyone said one of the greatest values is they have a parking lot. Because in San Francisco, if you've been there, parking can be a big problem, and they had a parking lot. Now, if they lost people money every day, they would have been out of business, right? They still have to do a good business. I had a background check company, and they said, they had everything best reports, quality reports, great customer service. That's what it was. All over their website, they were struggling, and their sales were down. And then we did the survey, and what came back over and over? Quick turnaround time. Quick turnaround time. That's what all the valued customers wanted. We changed their website, and they had sales teams going out to the biggest apartment complexes in the country to sell for them to use their background check. The receptionist came over and said, hey, how do I sign someone up? They're calling, they want a background check. The receptionist started getting more deals than some of their salespeople just because it had the right words on the website. So the big part, that's why I have to take some time on number 3 here. Open-ended gives us the exact words. Here I am, a guy that went to film school. What do you think I did when I started making commercials? Making mini movies? Guess what happened? Not much. Right? And I'm like, what did I do wrong, right? One of the first ones was a lawyer. And we put his old commercial with him on the desk with the book, and calls went up. Mine went down. I had to rethink the whole thing. The reality is we get over creative. Many marketing people, they're all about their creativity and what they do, and it can be useful, but the reality is I want the exact words from the client in my ad. Exactly. I take the exact words from the surveys and put it in the ad, and boom. I've quadrupled. Remember the client that I told you that had a department that was hemorrhaging over $200,000 a month? All I did was change the words on their ads. And then we quadrupled the intake of new clients in the first month that we launched it. There's 2 main things going wrong if you don't have enough business. It's the wrong person and the wrong message. Those are the 2 things. So I'm giving you exact thing right here. Find your wow client so that you have the right person. Ask them what they want. Put the words into that. And be mindful to not push the need. Push the want. Give them the need after, and they're like,